Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here, the final chapter of Aquaman, King of Atlantis on HBO Max. Of course, this is the animated trilogy, so we've been following this the past couple of weeks, and now we just got the third episode, the third and final episode, aka Chapter 3, Tidal Shift. So we're going to go ahead and break this down, do a quick review, and talk about just my overall thoughts on the series. You know, if you've been keeping up with my videos on this series so far, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of it, but as yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, if I wasn't doing videos on this, I wouldn't be watching it, but because I am, I'm watching it. So anyways, of course, spoiler warning if you haven't seen the episode yet and you don't want to know what happened. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's break down Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Chapter 3, Tidal Shift. So we start off the episode getting basically the continuation of nobody liking Aquaman as king, and that's kind of been his whole thing throughout these three episodes, is that he just wants to be accepted as the new king of Atlantis. And that's kind of what the title of the series implies. Now, our big thing here in this series that we've been collecting throughout the episodes is these crystals. So the first episode we got this blue crystal, and then the second episode we got this pink crystal. And in this episode we actually finally find out what they actually do. So the blue crystal has the power to slow time, while the pink crystal can speed up time. So they have these crazy time manipulating powers that actually power up the armor of Chroma. So this is this huge powerful weapon that of course is kind of like the MacGuffin of this episode in this trilogy, in this series, that our villains are trying to get to. Speaking of that, we have a jailbreak in this episode where Ocean Master and Mordecai basically take over Atlantis. And well, Mordecai kind of betrays Ocean Master because he's like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'll go get the crystals and then I'll let you be king. But then, of course, he's lying that whole time. So, Ocean Master actually kind of gets a little bit of a redemption here. But Mordecai goes full villain. He basically ends up being our main villain of this series. And he's gets even weirder. I wasn't the biggest fan of the character in the first episode when he was the main villain there. Not the biggest fan of him here either. Because we find out, first of all, that his body's fake. Turns out he's literally just a head with like cybernetic spider legs and stuff. Really weird, really creepy. So he's just a cyborg head the whole time. But basically he takes over the armor of Chroma and calls himself Scavenger. Now, I googled this just to see if this was an actual character, and there actually is an actual character in the comics, an Aquaman villain called Scavenger. There was actually multiple versions of the character, and this did slightly make me appreciate the character a bit more. Still didn't really care for this version of the character, and he has a very definitely looks cooler in the comics than he did here. But anyway, this is a Aquaman villain from the comics, so I guess that's something that is something I appreciate a little bit here. But he just causes a whole bunch of mayhem and a whole bunch of havoc here, where he literally cracks the whole planet in half. So Aquaman has to power up for the final time, and he gets all his fish, summons them, and they pull the planet back together, and Aquaman, of course, saves the day. And, you know, that's kind of the basics of it. It is a kid's show, so not really anything huge happens here. It's not that complicated. They gotta keep things simple for the kids. But, yeah, so that was Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Chapter 3, Tidal Shift. And, yeah, so that's it. That is the end of this animated trilogy. Not sure if we're going to return for maybe possible second season or honestly anything else here. I haven't really seen any other good reviews for this show either, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But, you know, for what it's worth, I feel like it's a good show that kids will enjoy. For adults, probably not, especially fans of Aquaman. Well, maybe fans of Aquaman, but at the same time, you might just be disgusted with what they've done to these characters, because Aquaman should never have green hair. But anyways, yeah, that's it. This is Aquaman, King of Atlantis. It's pretty much what I expected to be based off the trailers and stuff. So if you weren't a fan of the trailers, you're probably not going to be a fan of this, but I don't know. Again, it's got its selective audience. Every show has its own audience that is aiming towards, and clearly I'm not a part of the audience that this show is aiming towards, so that's why I'm not the biggest fan of it. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if I wasn't doing videos on the show, I probably wouldn't have watched it. I maybe would have watched the first episode, but I probably wouldn't have kept watching it. But for now, guys, that is it for Aquaman King of Atlantis. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about this series? Did you keep up with all 3 episodes? What did you think about it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? And do you want to see this show return for new episodes with possibly a second season? But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the DC life.